Sicker Than Others is a podcast on the ups and downs of recovery. This podcast does not reflect the views or opinions of Beta Shuva or any of its subsidiary businesses or partners. Sicker Than Others neither speaks for AA or recovery as a whole, but you'll find some useful links below if you want to find out more. Sicker Than Others touches on subjects and situations that some listeners may find offensive or, if you're lucky, triggering. You have been warned.
I love to hike, so I hike this mountain. And sometimes the hike is a lot easier than other times. And you go up this mountain and it's so challenging to get to the top. And then you get up to the top. And when I was earlier in recovery, I would get to the top and there'd be this little tiny peak and then I'd come back down. And the down part, I would either tumble down or I would roll, fall, the leaves, the branches, the trees, taking everything with me. Other times I would hike slowly down. But over time, when I got to the bottom and then I would hike up again, is that the peak ended up becoming more of a plateau. And over the years, the plateau has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. And so when I get to the other side of it, the falls may not be as big, or the recovery, the down may be hard, but I'm not falling with leaves in my hair.
Yeah.
Not to say that there hasn't been those, because there sure has. And then I get to the bottom, I'm like, oh, I'm going to hike up this hill again.
Hi, welcome to Sicker Than Others, the podcast brought to you from within a treatment centre in Culver City. I'm Seb Weber, and this is our guest today, Marissa. Marissa, say hi.
Hi, everybody.
This is super exciting for me because for a couple of reasons. One, this is the first time that we've had somebody that went through BTS a long time ago. So I think there's some really interesting perspectives with that. And a community member, because, you know, Jesse and I started this to kind of get the stories out from the staff that work here and some other people that we like meet along the way, maybe some residents once they graduate. But I think it's really interesting that you're here. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
So the get down is pretty simple. I just want to know what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now.
Yeah.
If you can.
I mean, that's a much longer story than probably what we have time for. You know, my what it's like now is obviously a much longer story at this point in my life than the what it was like and what happened.
Yeah.
You know, and I think with many of us in recovery and addiction and alcoholism and whatever we're struggling with, there's this moment where we hit bottom.
Yeah.
And for me, it was very much like I was tired.
Yeah.
I was tired,
Yeah.
but I wasn't done and I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
And kind of the way that looking back on like that transition in my life into recovery was when I was done and I had this moment where I was ready to listen.
Yeah.
And luckily those two things aligned at the same time that I could get into a treatment center and get the gift of being touched with recovery and being touched with the desire to no longer drink or use. And, you know, that's where the transition happened.
Yeah. Was it slow or was it instant?
I mean, there were multiple treatment attempts, but again, I wasn't ready. And I came, you know, the last treatment center I was in, I was there twice.
Yeah.
And when I left and I went back to the street, and life was exactly the same.
Yeah.
I was tired and I was living on the street, and this time I wasn't with my partner and it was just me and some of the other girls out there. And it was exhausting.
Yeah.
And when I tried to come back, the entire staff met with me and they were like, yeah, you're not ready. And I was like, I'm ready, but I need the weekend.
Yeah, let me get high first.
And they said, well, you're not coming back. And I was like, oh, I'll be back.
Yeah.
And then I had to call every day.
Good.
Until they let me come back.
And I think that when you're ready thing is a really interesting thing because it's something that you can only really understand in hindsight, because same as we multiple treatment attempts, same treatment centers multiple times. But I can tell you that when I went into different I felt like I wanted to change, you know, like at least initially, like I wanted that. It's why I don't give up on it's why I don't give up on relapses, right?
Yeah.
Because I was one for 14 years. And the truth of the matter is, as much as this place changed my life, the day I walked in, I didn't feel any different than I had done any other time I'd walked
Yeah.
into treatment, right? That's why I asked if it was hindsight. For me, I didn't realize it was working, which was, I think, which is so special about this place until 3-4 months in. I
Yeah.
then realized there was things that were starting to change, you know?
Yeah. The shift.
The shift. So they let you back in.
They let me back in. And they said, cut off your dreadlocks. Stop dressing the way that you dress.
Okay.
You cannot see your cat.
Okay.
You cannot talk to your family unless it's on Friday nights.
Yeah.
And you do what we tell you to do.
Yeah. And you were so ready that you...
And I said, okay.
Yeah.
And they said I couldn't talk to my partner, and I said no to that one.
Okay.
But he was on his way to, I don't remember if he was on his way to jail or prison at that point, but he was on his way somewhere for a while. And so they agreed that I could at least write letters.
Okay. Was it a different time back then? Like with this, like obviously there was a different era of Beit Yeshiva.
Yeah, we have a very different time. I mean, when I came in, I was just talking about this recently. The whole house was on non-com, so
I support that.
Yeah, the men and women were not allowed to talk. There were no relationships at all. If you got caught doing something, you were out. And you were out for, I think it was like 30 days, where you were, in a sense, it's like with these Jewish traditions, you're like shunned from the community for 30 days, but then you were welcomed back in.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was funny because we were on non-com, but our tables, they put them like this. So you'd have a table that was attached to a table. There was a sign up on the wall of how your plate and your silverware had to be. And,
oh, wow.
And that's how, so you could get away with sitting next to somebody of the opposite sex because you were at different tables, but the tables were pushed together.
Got it.
But yeah, I mean, it was, I want to say probably a much simpler program.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have a lot of the other stuff that exists now.
Yeah. And a longer program too.
And I was here, I moved out like the week of my first birthday, and I had been here longer than a year because I had changed my sobriety date at one point.
Okay. You want to talk about that?
Oh, I took a pill. My roommate was on sleep pills, and she took an extra one, snuck an extra one night, and I took it with a handful of melatonin and kava kava for a desired effect.
Yeah.
And so when I hit 6 months, I was actually on a vacation. I was in Maryland, and I went to go to bed, and I went, oh my God, that was a relapse.
Yeah.
And I called my sponsor. I told her, I called Rabbi, talked to one of the counselors, and changed my sobriety date.
Which is so great to hear, because that to me is more important than actually just what happened. The fact that you can, it's like the action of being like, hey, I fucked up.
Yeah.
Is so much more powerful than the actual fucking up.
Yeah.
Well, arguably now with fentanyl and things like that, the fuck ups are, the stakes are really, way higher.
Yeah.
But,
Very.
you know, and I tell all my sponsees or anyone that I guide, whether that's in official sponsorship capacity or that we're undisciplined. Like I was really interested that when you just said that the plates and things, you were told how things were laid out, because I think that so all my guys have to call me at 7 a.m.
Yep.
Right. I'm not going to pick up. It's not the action of picking up. I will pick up sometimes. It's about you doing shit you don't want to do.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And my theory is that if you can't spend 23 seconds a day doing that, why am I going to spend 45 minutes a week reading with you? And then how are you going to spend 3 hours doing a 4th step? Right.
Yeah.
And I really feel that we're undisciplined people when we first get sober, you know? And so we need those. We need the, at least from my experience, I need to be told how my plate is. And for me, it was simple actions like arriving at breakfast at the right time. That was my capacity for discipline was so small that I needed those really simple lunches at 12, dinners at 5, breakfasts at 7. I needed those.
And Harold, who, you know, many people know, I would get very overwhelmed with the things that needed to be done. And he was like, let's make a list. Let's put a checkbox. And it's still what I use today. Yeah. It is still the system I use today. It is what helps me function the most. Many years before, when I was short-term doing meth, it's still a system I used then, but I had forgotten that was a system that worked for me and worked for me in sobriety. And it was, I didn't know how to brush my teeth, wash my hair, show up for breakfast at the same time, what felt like the same time, and then go to groups and share with my whole heart. Yeah. Which I didn't even know what that was at the time.
No. No, it takes at least from my experience on that was it took me a good. This is again why this program is so special, is that like I personally just don't. But I don't think there's anything wrong. I think if you can go into treatment, it's great. Go into treatment anywhere. If you have the opportunity to go into treatment, fucking do it.
Yeah.
But 30, 60 days, I did that shuffle for so long. I didn't even know I didn't even know what I was feeling until month 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Let alone how to like talk about it.
I mean, I say this a lot, that like the first year is learning how to not pick up or use. The second year is really like, oh, this is not just drugs. This is about actually how do I go about living. And then the third year, it's like when a young child, like a 3-year-old says, you ask them how old they are, they say, I'm free, because they can't say the th part yet. They can't say th. And so they go, I'm free. And I felt like when I hit 3 is when I finally started to have like that sense of freedom that comes with being sober.
Yeah. It's almost like at 3, however you do it. Free.
Free.
It's like deciding who you want to be at that point,
Yeah.
right? You're like,
Yeah.
the chains are hopefully off, and
Yeah.
now you can think about the person you want to be rather than just surviving.
Yeah,
That's really, really interesting. So you have 25 years?
I do.
That's fucking amazing.
It's wild.
It's incomprehensible still to me.
Still to me as well.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
So what kind of, I don't want to go too much into what type of drug addict you are, but I'm really curious now because you're...
Yeah, I mean, listen,
Like-
the very short of it is like, I had trauma as a young child.
Right.
Nobody knew about it. I want to say was undiagnosed ADHD, although my mother recently told me I was diagnosed when I was younger. I've been recently diagnosed in my adult life. And, you know, so combined with this trauma, this history of trauma, ADHD, Marissa could do better if she applies herself, talks too much in class, negative attention, negative seeking attention, seeking negative attention. I ended up then when I was, you know, like everybody else, smoking pot and drinking. I wasn't doing anything out of the ordinary in high school. And I hated school, busted through, figured out how to graduate early with all of my classes. And then when I was 18, I got brutally attacked and beaten.
Ooh.
And I had a really bad concussion. I lost a lot of memory. I had a lot of physical ailments from getting attacked, and ended up taking muscle relaxers for the pain that we bought in Mexico. And it gave me this release, where I could breathe again. And I ended up like moving to San Francisco to go to art school. And when I was up there, I met some ballerinas, and they were really into crystal meth. And it progressed. You know, I did crystal meth for a few years. It was not my drug of choice, but it was the drug that was in front of me. Ecstasy, lots of alcohol, mushrooms, some LSD in there, and I always kind of dealt drugs so that I could get them for free. And at some point, living in the Haight-Ashbury area of San Francisco in the 90s was a really wild place. And so San Francisco in general in the 90s was an incredible place. It was the height of the .com. The city was on fire with just so much energy. And I lived and worked on Haight-Ashbury, and there were all these homeless kids, and I became really good friends with a lot of them and sold them a lot of drugs, and met a couple who were heroin addicts, and we became very good friends. And over time, they split up. He became my best friend and moved in with me at some point, later became my boyfriend, and to this day is still the love of my life.
Oh, amazing.
He has since passed, but and he was a heroin addict,
Right.
you know, and so one day I told him I wanted to try heroin, and it was a very quick progression for me. So from trying it, eventually injecting it, him leaving me because he didn't want to see what was happening, me injecting it. I had my first overdose, was brought down to Los Angeles when my parents found out, put into my first treatment center, and then left there and went to the street, and then spent the next like year and a half on the street.
And heroin was
my downfall.
Was the downfall.
Yeah, heroin and injection cocaine and alcohol.
It's funny you say the crystal meth thing. I'm a crystal meth addict too, and I also really believe that we find the drugs that we need at
Yeah.
the time, right? And you had the undiagnosed ADHD, and it's like I could see
Yeah.
how that. I'm not a doctor, but same with me. I actually did have ADHD. I got diagnosed, and I got put on all the pills. And yeah, if you'd have told me 20 years ago I was going to end up a crystal meth addict, I would have been like, "There's no fucking way I would end
Yeah.
up a crystal meth addict." So it's just kind of interesting to me.
Well, and it's interesting because now, since I was recently diagnosed, when I tell my story, I'm like, light bulb,
Yeah.
light bulb, light bulb. This was untreated ADHD
Yeah,
as a
which
child.
is also kind of crazy because from what I understand about ADHD is a lot of people grow out of it, and it's kind of hard to get diagnosed over 30. This is what my shrink told me. It was like a
Yeah.
pretty hard. It's also something I'm dealing with now because my 9-year-old just got diagnosed with it.
Oh. And then you have to go through,
Two
what do we
rounds
do?
of doctors, and it's the whole, 2 very expensive tests,
Yeah.
and she has it.
Yep. And how do you support her?
How do I support her? But I have this gut-wrenching, crippling fear that she's going to end up the way I did.
Yeah.
And I have to give my kid Concerta in the morning now, and it's really difficult, really, really hard.
And she doesn't have to end up like you because
doesn't
we
have to.
know a
Yeah.
lot more. We know a
Yeah.
lot more.
Yeah,
We know a lot more
yeah,
than our parents did.
yeah. That's so true.
Because there is a lot more out there for us to know.
Yeah,
And so we can support our children in a better way than our parents had the ability to support us. And that's not in a negative sense. They didn't have the same kind of knowledge base that we have today,
no,
the same kind of science technology, the same kind of
Yeah.
research that's been done,
yeah,
the same kind of knowing and understanding meditation and mindfulness.
yeah,
And these nervous system tools that we have as sober adults
yeah,
that, again, people didn't talk about then.
yeah. It's still terrifying,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, it's still something that's still kind of a hard thing for me to swallow. Although you are right, it's like ADHD coupled with therapy, and she does additional stuff, like she does really not intense therapy, but she meets with a therapist once a week. I've noticed like rapid changes, and she comes to survive. It's working. I
Yeah.
just get,
Scared.
at what point does she maybe think, oh, 2 of the, it's just something that I have to prepare myself for if that happens, right? And if that's her journey,
That's her journey.
that's her journey.
Yeah.
It's really hard. What have you learned in the last? Tell me about some of the highlights of this, because I want to talk about what you're like now, because it's so much more important than what you were.
Yeah.
What have you learned?
I mean, I think probably like the primary thing I've learned is the just one step at a time.
Right.
Like I just keep putting one foot in front of the other no matter what. And there has definitely been years or situations or challenges that I've walked through where I feel like I've been thrown back a million steps or fallen, but I just get up. And like the analogy that I like to use is I love to hike. So I hike this mountain, and sometimes the hike is a lot easier than other times. And you go up this mountain and it's so challenging to get to the top, and then you get up to the top. And when I was earlier in recovery, I would get to the top and there'd be this little tiny peak, and then I'd come back down. And the down part, I would either tumble down or I would roll, fall, the leaves, the branches, the trees, taking everything with me. Other times I would hike slowly down, but over time when I got to the bottom and then I would hike up again, is that the peak ended up becoming more of a plateau. And over the years, the plateau has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. And so when I get to the other side of it, the falls may not be as big, or the recovery, the down may be hard, but I'm not falling with leaves in my hair.
Yeah.
Not to say that there hasn't been those, because there sure has. And then I get to the bottom, I'm like, oh, I'm going to hike up this hill again. Because I know I have all the tools that help me hike up when it's the steepest. And so that's kind of how I've operated all these years, because a lot more hard things have happened in my sobriety than before.
Yeah.
And I just keep going.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like the basis, like the foundation, like building the house, right? We have this strong foundation. So when these storms come, also like my foundation's there. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
period. Like,
What was one of the, if you feel comfortable, what was one of the hardest things you had to deal with in those 25 years?
to pick one. um, I think probably the hardest thing was my partner, when I got sober, his name was Shane, is that when he died, it destroyed me. Still does.
Yeah.
And him and I were not together, but he was my person.
Yeah.
And he never got to find this gift.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it for probably about 6 months that I was in deep grief.
Mm.
And I shared at a meeting and someone said, "You're in grief."
Yeah.
And I hit a point. I had never really suffered from deep mental health stuff. That really just wasn't my story. I mean, depression here and there. But I hit this really dark depression where I just didn't want to be here anymore. And when he initially died, like, I didn't care if I was sober or not, but I didn't have a desire to drink or use. So I just didn't. And I wasn't able, like, I grew up in this program of you thank God every night for keeping you sober, and I couldn't do that anymore. It didn't matter. Nothing mattered. And then about 6 months into it, I had a thought that I didn't want to be here. And I thought about who my animals could go to. And I reached out for help, and that kind of backfired on me. In such an extreme way that, you know, I had a pretty high powered job at the time. And the medical provider that I was with at the time, they called the police on me and they sent them to my work, and they put me in handcuffs, and they walked me out of my work in handcuffs and took me to the police station down the street from here and locked me up in a cell, and then hospitalized me at a county psych facility in the schizophrenic unit. And it was so traumatizing for me. For anybody.
For anybody.
And it shook me. It changed. Him dying forever has changed who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And then that response to me being in deep grief also deeply affected me. And I spent a year after that in grief therapy, and I've had a lot of death in my life and in my work, and, you know, in recovery we see a lot of death. But that one was different. Yeah. And it took a long time. It took years and years and years to get through it. And some years his anniversary comes and I'm okay, and other years it comes and I'm not.
Yeah, that's okay.
And I'm not.
Yeah.
And that's how grief works.
Yeah.
And I acknowledge it for what it is and allow myself the space to feel.
What do you attribute? That sounds terrible, but what do you contribute to, like, what kept you sober though? What do you think it was that allowed you to not default to something that you know would automatically fix the way you felt? Or do you just not feel like that anymore? I
don't feel like that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at that point in my life, like, again, I'm someone, not everybody gets this gift. The desire of drinking use has been lifted from me.
Right.
I've had a handful of times in the 25 years where I'm like, oh, a drink probably could fix this. This would be really good. But it is this, like, passing thought. It's not like an obsession that stays in front of me.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, when that happened, I just didn't care if I was sober, but it wasn't going to fix anything.
Yeah.
There was no part of me that thought if I drank or used it was going to fix me.
How sober were you when this happened? How many?
It was like 11 and a half years ago. So whatever the math is.
Yeah. I can't work that out. But
14?
14.
No.
But you had, I mean.
So I had enough time that I had a lot of tools. But again, the tools at that point, I think that was like where me having this strong foundation is what helped me make it through that.
Yeah.
You know.
And what do you do now? Like, what's your program like with? Well, not what your program like. I'm not going to ask about that. But what are the things that you do now for your recovery that maybe you didn't do around that time?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's still all kind of
We can do things like this. You come and
Right, I
talk
do
about.
things like this. I mean, it's.
Yeah.
I think it's still autopilot. It's, I don't get my daily prayers in for sure anymore since becoming a mom.
Yeah.
As
Let's
much,
talk about what you don't do.
well,
That's interesting.
that is much more challenging since becoming a mom, because I
Yeah.
don't wake up on my own and like say my prayers in this very
Yeah.
peaceful like environment. I wake up with a young child like hitting me in the face.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I'm with you, 100%. Yeah.
And or I get up before him so that I can hurry up and get ready and get him ready for school, but I have a very deep connection with nature, with the ocean, with solid people in my life, with people who love me, depend on me, where we cherish each other's love and relationships. There's the very deep, I don't know if they still kind of teach it here, is the Abraham Joshua Heschel, the practice of like looking at the way that your fingers move, right? Or the way a squirrel like climbs up a tree, the way a leaf moves.
Yeah.
And so it all is mindfulness. It's these sublime wonders of the world, right? Yeah. It is incredible what it takes for our fingers to move.
Yeah.
And so it's really, really deeply having the connection to that I can sit in my house, that I can look out or listen and hear the birds, that I can watch a hawk go by, that at night I can hear the owls.
Yeah.
And just being in that. I also like still go to my home group. I do still have a sponsor. I just actually changed sponsors after 25 years.
Oh, what was the reason behind that?
The sponsor that I had for 25 years, she probably should not have been my sponsor for the last 15, but I so deeply love her.
Yeah.
And it was connected with her and felt safe with her, and she knew everything and she knew Shane, but it wasn't somebody that I was growing with. And in terms of sponsorship at this point, like if I'm going through something, then I'll call my sponsor, but it's not a daily thing.
Right. That's interesting. I think the home group thing is super important. For me, that's been the foundation that's been really different this time. Is I had this thought. I personally, just hit, sorry, I'm adjusting, edit that out. I had, when I was here, I decided I was just going to go to men's meetings. For me, I was just like, I needed to have really healthy relationships with men. And the one thing I love about my home group is I learned pretty early on that I don't know how to navigate almost anything, and that I really don't know anything. And so I go to a men's group
to learn.
So there's somebody in, I just moved in with my girlfriend. Like I haven't done that in 10 years. I don't know how, and sober. And I had to live my life in consultation. I had to be like, I'm about to do this thing, and I have no fucking idea how to do it. And the great thing about having a home group, which I don't think enough people talk about, is if you go to a home group enough, you get to know people, chances are there is somebody in that home group that is going through the exact same thing or has done.
Yep.
I think that's, home groups are the bomb.
Well, and it's, when you asked about what's the hardest thing, I mean, I've also had cancer in recovery.
Okay.
While pregnant.
What?
While pregnant. And the people who showed up for me, who came to my house and would sit in the backyard and have a meeting with me, or would pick me up and take me to meetings, were people from my home group. Someone from here who I wasn't even close with. It was just someone who I knew through being connected to BTS, who would come and pick me up and take me to meetings.
Yeah.
It's like someone that my dad worked with who was sober, who I'm friends with from West Side meetings, but her and another person threw me like a bye-bye boob party when I had my mastectomy. Like, these were the people that showed up in my life. And there's definitely people that fell off.
Yeah.
Sober, non-sober.
Yeah.
Sober, non-alcoholic addict. That fell out of my life. But there were these other people that just showed up because it's what we do. And when you're connected, especially my home group people, they just showed up. They just showed up.
Yeah.
Because we know each other. We may not, even if we don't talk, we know each other.
Yeah.
And so that's who circled around me.
That's incredible. That must have been incredibly difficult.
Yeah, it was really horrific. I didn't know that you could cry in your sleep.
Oh. That's fucking...
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't know. Yeah.
Wow.
I would wake up with
Wow.
tears streaming down my face.
Okay. And you were healthy?
I am healthy.
That's amazing.
Ish. Yeah.
Okay.
I have no cancer.
That's fantastic. Sorry, I don't really. I'm just like I'm a little bit. I just don't know how you. Wow, that is seeing what someone goes through while they're pregnant was one of the. Well, I was also getting high at the time, so I wasn't like the most in tune. But I can tell you that my kid's mum, who I'm really good friends with today, even though she shouldn't be, even though I should put her through hell. Watching a woman in pregnancy, especially the last 4 months, was one of the craziest things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine what that would have been like.
I will say that pregnancy did not make it that far. I lost that pregnancy, not because of the cancer. And I will say it was probably the best thing that could happen because I was pregnant with my then partner. And I am extremely grateful to not have a child with him.
Okay. All right.
So, and the baby was actually sick, and I did not have to make a decision as to what to do. My body made the decision.
Wow.
But it was obviously a very stressful time with having the cancer diagnosis, which I got a week after I found out I was pregnant. Yeah.
Well, we're certainly not going to have a lack of sound bites for this episode. That's for fucking sure. Okay. Holy moly.
But you do have a son now.
I do have a son now.
Yeah.
On my own.
Okay. Let's. How did that happen?
How did that happen?
How did that happen? So how does that happen?
Science. So the kind of short of it is, so I was pregnant with my partner. It was a very beautiful, magical time. And a week later, I was diagnosed, and then found out that baby had Down syndrome. And when I went in for further testing on him after having 64 specimens taken of biopsies while I was pregnant, found out that he had actually passed away inside of me. So it was a very kind of quick, I had to have surgery to have him removed. That same week I met with the breast surgeon and the plastic surgeon, who said, when I said I want to get pregnant again, and they said, you need to deal with the cancer first. And the treatment for me was supposed to be a lumpectomy when I hit my second trimester, and then after I had the baby, radiation for 6 weeks, and then 5 years of medication that would put me in menopause. And at 41 years old, if I did that, I wouldn't have been able to have a baby.
Right.
So I ended up having a mastectomy, had major complications from having a mastectomy, which I'm still dealing with today. That's why I don't have cancer. I'm okay-ish, but I'm still dealing with that today. And my partner left during that time, and I
left.
Left.
Okay.
Back and forth, but left. And I really wanted a child. And every month that went by, it hurt my being to not have a child. And I had my last surgery in January of it's not my last, but my last at that time in January of 2020. And my fertility doctor, I had frozen my eggs a few years before, and a couple of years before, and he said, give yourself a few months to heal from the January surgery, and then we'll look at what we need to do to move forward. And then COVID hit.
Yeah, I was doing the math in my head. I'm like, okay.
COVID hit, and all of the fertility clinics shut down.
Right.
I'm a nurse, so I became a nurse in recovery. Spent 20 years working in homeless social services, and I was like, now what? So, this is a much longer story than what we have time for. I let the dude back during that time, but I ended up finding a fertility clinic that was open and moved forward. And I had one night working COVID, frontline COVID, my medical director at the time shared her experience with becoming a single mother.
Wow.
And I bought sperm that day from the sperm bank, and my ex didn't come home one night, and I moved forward that same week with the sperm donor.
Wow.
And, you know, however many weeks later, I don't remember. It's pretty, when you do it with science, you find out pretty quickly when you're pregnant, because they monitor you a lot. And I got pregnant my first round of what's called IUI.
Right.
And
Which that's not common, right?
no, my doctor was like, "This is the shortest relationship I've ever had." And I don't say this because people who really want kids that don't get them, like, this is
Right.
not to shame that, but like, my son was, the way that I believe it, he was waiting, and he was waiting a long time to drop down and to be my son.
Yeah.
And I deeply believe that Shane, that his spirit came back in through my son, so that he could have the mother that he deserved to have all those years. And there's some really intimate things between my son that he has said to me that were of our previous life
Wow.
together. And this little boy, dropped in, and I got to be his mother. And it is so hard. I mean, number one, I had him C-section, at home during COVID by myself with him. It was extremely traumatic beginnings, just being so isolated during COVID. And then also just being a parent alone is really hard. And I walked away from my career at that point in homeless services, and, did some, just kind of 1099 nursing stuff here and there, and then went on to build a coaching business.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. First of all,
But that's
that
a lot.
was incredible. But also, I'm just thinking, well, I'm so glad it did, because you definitely deserve to have a win.
Yeah.
Right? Like, at that point, I'm glad that happened, right? What's your coaching business? Tell me about that.
So I'm an integrative wellness coach. So
Okay.
it incorporates body, mind, spirit, and health. So I've been a nurse for 18 years, 19 years, 19 years. I've been an RN for 19 years. I have a lot of experience with, obviously, the medical component of things and case management and mental health. Was a director, built a ton of programs that exist. But there's something that we miss in medical, which is also this full mind, body, spirit part of it. I'm also a Reiki practitioner and breathwork practitioner, NLP trained. And so I truly believe that working with people on all aspects of their life is what helps transform them. And that ended up becoming this, working primarily with women who are in what I call the now what phase of life. Right? So after you walk through a life's challenge, whether it's cancer or grief or loss or relationships ending or becoming a parent or an empty nester, just when you're in your life and you go long-term recovery or at recovery at some point where you go, what am I doing? It's not the early stages. It's not when you're first getting sober. It's not when you're going through cancer because you're busy fighting for your life. It's this aftermath of what am I doing now? Who am I? And it's really just down to basics, goal setting, visioning, but every session incorporates Reiki, breathwork, mindfulness, meditation, NLP, everything to kind of help break through some of those old stuck patterns so that you can find who you are again, set boundaries, realign, and rediscover who you are.
Breathworks I have a little experience with breathwork. I was definitely not somebody that would take it seriously, and then I did it, and I wept the hardest I've ever wept. I was in the fetal position, and I was clamping. I was clamped like this.
Yeah.
I've never experienced something that was just disabling. It was the most freeing, but it was I continue to do it now.
Yeah.
And it's been one of the things that is one of my go-tos now when things are just a bit too much.
Yeah.
I can just reset. A little Wim Hof for me.
Yeah.
A little bit of that, a little bit of breathing in the morning. But I was incredibly I don't want to say surprise because that makes me sound naive, but
it is.
But it is. It was incredible.
It is, and I've taken people through, and they've come out and been like, "I've done ayahuasca before, and this was more powerful." You know, and that's the first time someone said that to me, because I've never done ayahuasca. I was like, "Oh wow," and I've seen past lives in breath work. I've had my entire plan laid out for me step by step of what I needed to do in my life.
Yeah.
And these were all of those things that I went through, all the tools that I teach and use are things that I've used that helped me get through. So it's like when you ask, what do you do? And it's like, I just keep going.
Yeah.
But I keep going with all these tools that I now have in my toolbox.
Yeah. And you're helping a lot of people.
And I help a lot of people.
Which is the greatest gift of all.
Yeah.